Smart home security for retirees. Protect your estate. The afternoon sun filtered through the curtains as Margaret stood in her hallway, keys in hand, staring at the front door she'd locked and unlocked for 37 years. Something felt different this time. Not the door, not the lock, but the weight of what lay beyond it. She wasn't afraid. Exactly. Fear wasn't the right word for what had been growing quietly in the back of her mind since the Hendersons down the street came home to find their side window shattered, their mother's jewelry box emptied. They'd lived there 40 years. Good neighborhood. Safe street. Or so everyone thought. Margaret set her keys on the hall table and walked to the kitchen. Her coffee had gone cold. Outside, the oak tree swayed gently, the same tree she and Tom had planted the year they moved in. Everything looked the same. Everything felt different. She'd spent decades building this life, not the house itself. Though that mattered, but the sense of sanctuary it represented. The quiet mornings, the garden she'd cultivated, the memories embedded in every room. And now, without warning, that sanctuary felt fragile. What surprised her most wasn't the fear of loss. It was the realization that she'd been living as though safety was permanent, as though the world would simply honor the life she'd built. But the world doesn't work that way. And at some point, without noticing, she'd stopped adapting. Her daughter had called the night before, voice tight with concern. "Mom, you need to think about security. Real security." Margaret had nodded along, but inside, a familiar resistance stirred. She didn't want cameras. She didn't want to feel watched in her own home. She didn't want technology dictating how she lived. But she also didn't want to feel vulnerable. The next morning, she found herself at the kitchen table with her laptop open, searching for answers she wasn't sure she wanted. The internet flooded her with options. Doorbell cameras, motion sensors, smart locks, alarm systems, all promising peace of mind. But which ones actually delivered? And which ones would just make her feel like a stranger in her own house? She leaned back, closing her eyes for a moment. Maybe comfort had made her complacent. Maybe the life she'd worked so hard to protect had quietly made her forget that protection required more than just hope. There was one question she couldn't shake. How do you secure a home without losing the feeling of home? What she didn't realize yet was that the answer wouldn't come from technology alone. It would come from understanding what security actually meant, not as a product, but as a practice. Not as surveillance, but as awareness. Not as fear, but as preparedness. The first mistake most people make, she'd later discover, is waiting until something happens. Security isn't a response to crisis. It's a quiet, steady commitment made long before crisis arrives. But knowing that intellectually and feeling it emotionally are two very different things. Margaret stood and walked to the front window, looking out at the street she'd loved for nearly 4 decades. The Hendersons' house looked the same from the outside. No one would know what had been taken unless they'd been inside. And that's what unsettled her most, how invisible violation could be, until it was too late. She thought about Tom. He'd always handled the security stuff, checking locks before bed, installing the porch light timer, replacing batteries in the smoke detectors. She'd never questioned it. But now, standing alone in the house they'd built together, she realized she'd inherited not just the home, but the responsibility of protecting it. Part of her wondered if it was even worth the effort. She was 72. How many years did she realistically have left here? Maybe downsizing made more sense. Maybe letting go was easier than learning something new. But then she thought about the garden, the roses she'd pruned every spring, the kitchen where she'd taught her grandchildren to bake, the reading nook by the window where light pooled perfectly at 3 in the afternoon. This wasn't just property. This was her life's work. She wasn't ready to let go, which meant she needed to learn how to hold on. What happened next shifted everything. Not dramatically, not all at once, but in small, deliberate steps that gradually rebuilt her sense of control. The first thing Margaret did surprised even herself. She didn't buy anything. She didn't install anything. She simply walked through her home with fresh eyes, notebook in hand, and asked a question she'd never considered before. If I were trying to break in, where would I start? The side gate had a latch that didn't quite catch. The basement window, hidden behind overgrown shrubs, had a lock so old it could probably be forced with minimal effort. The back porch light had burned out months ago, and she'd never replaced it. The mail slot in the front door, she'd always loved its vintage charm, could easily allow someone to see inside, to know if anyone was home. She wrote it all down, not with panic, but with clarity. For the first time in years, she was seeing her home not as a static sanctuary, but as a living space that required attention, adaptation, and care. Security experts, the ones who actually worked in the field, not the ones trying to sell elaborate systems, often said something that resonated with her. The best security is layered, simple, and invisible. Not cameras on every corner. Not alarms that scream at shadows. But thoughtful preparation that deters without announcing itself. Margaret fixed the gate latch first. $12 at the hardware store. 10 minutes with a screwdriver. Simple next. She trimmed the shrubs around the basement window and replaced the old lock. Then the porch light. Then heavier curtains for the ground floor windows so no one could see inside after dark. Small actions, unremarkable on their own. But together, they created something she hadn't expected: confidence. She smiled, realizing independence didn't mean doing everything alone. It meant knowing what mattered and taking responsibility for it, step by step, without waiting for permission or rescue. But physical barriers were only part of the story. What surprised her most was what came next: the invisible layer of security that most people overlook entirely. Her neighbor, a retired police officer named Daniel, stopped by one afternoon with a basket of tomatoes from his garden. They got to talking, and Margaret mentioned what she'd been working on. Daniel nodded thoughtfully, then said something that stayed with her. The best security system is people who notice. He explained that most break-ins happen during the day, when homes look empty. Thieves don't want confrontation, they want opportunity. And the single biggest deterrent isn't technology, it's presence. Or the perception of it. Margaret thought about that for days. She'd always been friendly with her neighbors, but she realized they'd all started living more separately over the years. Everyone kept to themselves. No one really knew each other's routines anymore. If someone was watching her house, would anyone even notice? She started small. She made a point to wave to Daniel when she saw him outside. She learned the names of the young couple who'd moved in across the street. She joined the neighborhood watch group she'd been ignoring emails about for 2 years. Not because she suddenly became social, but because she understood now that security wasn't just about locks and lights, it was about connection. And then came the technology question she'd been avoiding. Margaret wasn't anti-technology. She had a smartphone, used email, video called her grandchildren regularly. But smart home security felt different, invasive, complicated, like something designed for people who lived differently than she did. Part of her worried it would make her feel surveilled rather than safe. But her daughter's voice echoed in her mind. "Mom, you need to think about security. Real security." So she researched. Not frantically, but methodically. She learned that modern security technology had evolved far beyond the clunky, complicated systems she'd imagined. There were options now that worked simply, required no monthly contracts, and could be managed entirely by her without relying on anyone else. The breakthrough came when she stopped thinking about it as surveillance and started thinking about it as awareness. She didn't need to watch every corner of her property. She just needed to know when something unusual was happening, especially when she wasn't home. She started with a video doorbell. Simple device, easy installation, connected to her phone. The first time it notified her that someone was at the door while she was at the grocery store, she felt something unexpected, not paranoia, but relief. She could see it was just a delivery driver, no emergency, no threat, just information. What surprised her most was how that small piece of awareness changed her relationship with leaving the house. She'd been carrying a low-level anxiety she hadn't fully acknowledged, a nagging worry every time she left that something might happen while she was gone. The doorbell didn't eliminate every risk, but it gave her eyes when she couldn't be there herself. Then came the motion-activated lights. She installed them at the back door and along the side of the house, the dark spots that had always made her vaguely uncomfortable at night. The first evening they triggered, she jumped, but then she laughed. Just the neighbor's cat, illuminated perfectly as it prowled through her garden. The lights didn't prevent anything, but they removed hiding places, and that mattered more than she'd expected. Sometimes, security is less about strength and more about removing opportunities for someone else's bad decisions. But here's where most people stumble, where Margaret almost did too. She got caught up in the idea of the perfect system. Should she add window sensors? What about interior cameras? A full alarm system with monitoring? The options multiplied, and suddenly the simplicity she'd found started dissolving into overwhelm. She paused, took a breath, went back to the original question. What am I actually trying to protect? And from what? Her home, her sense of safety, her ability to live independently without fear. That was it. She wasn't securing a fortress. She wasn't preparing for sophisticated criminals or elaborate heists. She was creating reasonable barriers against opportunistic threats, the kind that target homes that look easy, empty, and unnoticed. She realized she didn't need everything. She needed enough. And enough was specific to her life, her home, her patterns. What worked for someone else might be excessive for her. What felt insufficient to her daughter might be exactly right for Margaret's actual daily reality. This is educational insight, not prescriptive advice, but that distinction changed everything for her. She stopped comparing herself to what others had and started trusting what she actually needed. The final piece came from an unexpected place. Margaret attended a community safety workshop at the local library, mostly out of curiosity, partly because Daniel had mentioned it. A security consultant spoke, a woman in her 60s who'd worked in the field for decades. She said something Margaret wrote down word for word. Your best security system is one you'll actually use consistently. Complexity is the enemy of habit. That principle became Margaret's guide. She didn't need the most advanced system. She needed one she understood completely. could manage confidently, and would maintain without it feeling like a burden. For her, that meant 3 simple layers: the video doorbell, motion lights, and smart locks she could control and monitor from her phone. But, and this was crucial, she also created a routine. Every night before bed, she walked through the house with intention. Doors locked, windows checked, lights set, not out of fear, but out of care. The same way she'd water her plants or set the coffee maker. Security became a practice, not a panic. What surprised me most wasn't just how a simple video doorbell and smart lock system made life easier, but how it gave me back a sense of control. I didn't expect such a clear shift in daily comfort. I tested it quietly, and over time, I noticed the difference wasn't small. This isn't a promotion, just sharing something that truly worked for me. I'll leave the link below if you'd like to see what I mean. The months passed. Margaret's routine solidified. The doorbell became second nature. The motion light stopped startling her. She knew her neighbors better. She felt present in her own security, not dependent on it or paranoid about it, just aware. Then, one afternoon, something happened that proved the value of everything she'd built. She was at her book club when her phone buzzed, motion detected at the back door. She opened the app, saw a figure moving near her porch. Heart racing, she watched for a moment, then recognized the jacket. It was Daniel, checking her back gate because he'd noticed it swinging open in the wind. She called him immediately. "Daniel, thank you, I saw you on my camera. Everything okay?" He laughed, a little embarrassed. "Sorry if I startled you. Just wanted to make sure your gate was secure. Didn't want it banging all afternoon." She thanked him, hung up, and sat quietly for a moment. The system had worked. But not because it stopped a threat, because it allowed her to see that no threat existed. It gave her information, instead of fear, and it showed her that her real security wasn't just the technology or the locks. It was the combination of awareness, preparation, and community. She breathed deeply, feeling something she hadn't felt in months. Ease. Not the absence of risk. Risk would always exist, but the presence of readiness. She'd done what she could, and that was enough. Somewhere between new routines and old habits, she found ease again, not the kind she once had, but the kind that fits who she is now. The following spring, Margaret stood in her garden, pruning the roses that had just started to bloom. The sun was warm, the air sweet with jasmine. She heard the familiar chime from her phone, the doorbell camera alerting her to movement. She glanced down, saw it was the mail carrier, and smiled. She didn't rush inside. She didn't panic. She just knew. And knowing was its own kind of peace. When she poured her coffee the next morning, the light hit differently, not because the house had changed, but because she had. The sanctuary she'd spent decades building was still hers. But now, it was protected not by walls alone, but by awareness, by preparation, by connection, and by the quiet confidence that comes from taking responsibility without surrendering joy. Security, she realized, wasn't about eliminating every risk. It was about living fully while being reasonably prepared. It was about enjoying the life you'd built without pretending the world would protect it for you. It was about growing older without growing careless. And it was about understanding that independence doesn't mean isolation. It means knowing when to act, when to ask for help, and when to simply trust that you've done enough. She set her coffee down and walked to the window. The street was waking up, neighbors heading to work, kids waiting for the school bus, Daniel watering his garden. The same street she'd loved for nearly 4 decades. The same home she'd built with Tom. But now, secured not by fear, but by care. Margaret smiled. This was her life, and she was still very much in control of it. What part of this story spoke to you most, and where are you watching from? Tell us which city or country you're watching from. See you in the next video. Bye.